So the UK made a small device that could become one of Ukraine's next major weapon systems. The device is about the size of this Halo book. That's right, the UK is giving Ukraine a tablet-sized weapon. Here's why that matters. Britain got a new Prime Minister on July 20th. Andy Burnham took office after Keir Starmer stepped down, and 1 week later, standing on the deck of the aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth, he made his first major defense decision as head of government. He gave away the blueprints, not to a rival power, to Ukraine, specifically the manufacturing rights to a tablet-sized electronic warfare device called Stone Cloak. A piece of hardware small enough to hold in one hand. That's been quietly making Ukrainian drones significantly harder for Russia to detect. And here's what almost nobody covering the visit connected. Under a program called Project Brakestop, it's being built directly into Britain's next generation of long-range strike missiles, the same missile program I covered in detail a few weeks ago. A device this small just became part of the answer to a problem Britain has been trying to solve since Storm Shadow deliveries started running late. Small object, big signature. This little device makes whatever it's put into resistant to Russian jamming. Hey friends, Wes here, defense journalist, Army and Air Force veteran. Today we're covering StoneCloak, why the UK just handed Ukraine the license to build it, how it connects to the BreakStop missile program, and what it tells us that Britain's brand new Prime Minister made this his very first act of defense diplomacy. Now here's the assumption most coverage of small electronic warfare devices runs on, and it's the wrong scale to think at. The instinct is to treat a tablet-sized jammer as a minor accessory, useful at the margins, not the kind of thing that changes an engagement. Missiles and fighter jets get all the headlines. A palm-sized box that interferes with detection systems sounds like a footnote by comparison. Well, that instinct has it backwards, and it's exactly the instinct Ukraine's war has spent 4 years correcting. In a drone war, the single most decisive factor isn't how big your payload is. Giggity. It's whether the thing carrying that payload gets seen before it arrives. Now, StoneCloak's entire value proposition is making detection fail, and Britain just decided that value was significant enough to fold directly into its next generation missile program, not just hand it over as spare parts. Let me lay out the sequence precisely, because the timing and the setting both matter. Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in the UK on July 27th, his first foreign visit since Andy Burnham took office as Prime Minister a week earlier, following Keir Starmer's departure. Burnham became the 5th British Prime Minister to deal directly with Zelensky since Russia's full-scale invasion began in 2022. Now, the meeting took place aboard the Royal Navy aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth, docked at Portsmouth Naval Base, where Burnham and Zelensky also observed more than 200 Ukrainian sailors who had spent 3 weeks training under Operation Interflex to operate minehunter vessels, part of ongoing British efforts to help secure the Black Sea. Burnham's office confirmed the UK will provide Ukraine the intellectual property behind the Stone Cloak electronic warfare system, technology capable of jamming Russian detection systems specifically to prevent Ukrainian drones from being tracked and intercepted. Yes, let's go ahead and cue up that Monty Python clip with the Black Knight.
None shall pass. What? None shall pass.
The UK Ministry of Defense has already delivered thousands of Stone Cloak units directly to Ukrainian forces, and this announcement goes further, granting Ukraine the license to manufacture the system domestically at scale, rather than remaining dependent on continued British shipments. Burnham's message was direct. Quote, "The Stone Cloak is an example of British innovation at its best, proven on the battlefield, and this system will play an important role in strengthening the security of our two countries," end quote. Zelensky, in his own statement following the visit, said the partnership represents, quote, "the strongest relationship in the entire history of cooperation with the UK," end quote, specifically citing air defense, maritime security, and joint defense production as the core pillars going forward. Now, here's the mechanism worth understanding, because Jammer undersells what's actually happening here. StoneCloak is a compact electronic warfare device, roughly the size of a computer tablet, designed to be mounted directly on a drone, rather than broadcasting overwhelming noise across every frequency the way older, blunter jamming approaches do. It works by interfering specifically with the detection systems trying to locate the drone carrying it. degrading the ability of Russian sensors, whether radar, radio frequency detection arrays, or other tracking systems, to establish and hold a reliable track on the aircraft. Now, Ukraine has already been flying British-built StoneCloak units on long-range strike drones throughout this year. That's not a testing phase claim, that's operational deployment on missions that matter, against a Russian detection and air defense network that's had years to refine how it hunts for exactly this kind of threat. The distinction between disrupting communication and disrupting detection is an important one here. A drone that loses its control link is a drone that's lost. A drone that Russian sensors simply can't reliably classify or track is a drone that completes its mission and comes home to fly again. StoneCloak is aimed squarely at the second problem, which is precisely the harder one to solve, and precisely the one that determines whether a long-range strike drone campaign is sustainable over months rather than days. And you know what? Here's a part that turns this from useful gadget story into something a little bit more significant, and it's the piece almost nobody covering the Portsmouth visit tied together. StoneCloak technology is being integrated directly into Project Brakestop, Britain's program to build a cheap, ground-launched, long-range strike missile specifically engineered to avoid dependency on American components and American export permissions. I covered BreakStop in detail when it was first unveiled. 3 competing prototype missiles. Should we unveil them? Bring our most eligible bachelors down, Dick. First up, we have Crossbow from MBDA UK, Tiger Shark from NGI Engineering, and Skylance from Roton Aerospace. All racing toward production after the Ministry of Defense handed all 3 companies follow-on contracts rather than picking a single winner outright. That's right, you get all 3 bachelors. Have fun with that. Don't pick one, just get all 3. Those same 3 companies, MBDA UK, NGI Engineering, and Roton Aerospace, are the ones now incorporating StoneCloak's detection evasion technology into their competing missile designs. At least one of the BreakStop missile systems is expected to reach Ukraine by the end of 2026. That's coming up soon. Think about what that means structurally. BreakStop already existed as Britain's answer to depending on American permission slips for long-range strike capability. StoneCloak now gives those same missiles a meaningful chance of getting through Russian detection networks in the first place. Britain isn't just building a missile Washington can't veto, it's building a missile Russia has a harder time seeing coming. And when I was in the Air Force, the entire discipline that job trains into you is understanding detection as a probability problem, not a binary one. A sensor doesn't simply see a target or fail to see it. It builds confidence in a track over time, correlating returns, filtering noise, cross-referencing against other sensors in the network until the picture solidifies enough for a commander to authorize an engagement. Every step in that chain is an opportunity for degradation. Make the return weaker, the correlation less reliable, the confidence lower, and you don't need to make the target invisible. You just need to make the detection system doubt itself long enough for that engagement window to close before anyone pulls the trigger. That's exactly the kind of problem a device like StoneCloak is built to create inside a Russian sensor network. It doesn't have to defeat every radar and every detection method simultaneously. It just has to introduce enough uncertainty into that chain that Russian air defenses can't build the confident track it needs to commit an interceptor in time. Folding that capability directly into a missile airframe rather than treating it as an accessory bolted onto smaller platforms is exactly the kind of integration decision that reflects genuine understanding of how modern detection actually fails. So this announcement carries real specificity, but also real gaps. Neither Burnham's office nor the reporting around this visit disclosed exact performance figures for StoneCloak. No confirmed detection reduction percentage, no specific frequency ranges of targets, no data on how it performs against Russia's more advanced and continuously updated radar systems. Now, that's not unusual for electronic warfare technology, where publishing exact capabilities would hand the enemy a roadmap for countermeasures. But it also means the claim that StoneCloak meaningfully improves survivability rests on operational track record Ukraine has reported, rather than independently verified technical benchmarks. So the honest answer to does this work at scale is that we're about to find out. And here's what this announcement actually represents underneath the diplomatic optics of a new Prime Minister's first foreign visitor. For most of this war, electronic warfare technology and strike weapon development have been treated as separate conversations. Jammers protect existing platforms, missiles get built around penetration through speed, altitude, or stealth shaping. StoneCloak's integration into BreakStop collapses that separation entirely. Britain isn't just handing Ukraine a useful accessory. It's building detection evasion into the DNA of its next missile family from the design stage forward, using technology proven in live Ukrainian combat rather than laboratory assumptions about what Russian radar might eventually look like. And the timing tells you something about institutional continuity that matters more than any single prime minister. Starmer signed the original BreakStop framework. He was in Kyiv less than 2 weeks before leaving office. Burnham's very first act of defense diplomacy, 1 week into the job, was extending that same relationship with a specific, technically substantive transfer rather than a symbolic restatement of support. 5 British prime ministers have now dealt directly with Zelensky since 2022. The policy has survived every single handoff. StoneCloak's precise technical specifications remain undisclosed, which limits independent verification of exactly how much detection reduction it provides against current-generation Russian sensors. But I don't want to know the specifications if it means that this information falls into the hands of the Russians, because even though YouTube is currently not allowed in Russia, I promise you the Russians watch my channel. That's it for today, my friends. If this was useful, please like and subscribe. I cover British-Ukrainian defense cooperation, emerging military technology, electronic warfare, all that stuff 4 times a week. And subscribing is the single best free way to support the work I do here. I just realized I forgot to hang my Trizub up for this video, and I do not want to re-record this whole thing, so I'm gonna go grab it. Stay here. There. And as always, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. Crimea is Ukraine.